For anyone who isn't familiar with the concept, a recursive translation is when something is taken from one language, translated to at least one more, and then converted back to the source language. The results can be quite interesting. Anyway, let's go. Superman, aka the Mad Scientist. After receiving a letter from a mad scientist threatening to wreak havoc on the Daily Planet with an electric compulsion ray, Lois Lane travels to get more information for her article. The scientist captures him and carries out his threat, prompting Superman to step in to save the city and rescue Lois. The Clockwork Monster. When a clockwork robot steals a display of gems and jewelry, Lois Lane sneaks into the robot's safe and returns to the inventor's lair, where she is quickly captured. When Superman arrives to rescue Lois, the inventor unleashes a small robot army to stop him. The limit is $1 billion. Lois Lane is on a train carrying gold bars to the mint when masked thieves hijack the train to steal the bars. When the Daily Planet receives an alert that a train has gone out of control, Clark Kent goes undercover as Superman and rescues Lois and the train. The Arctic Giant. Lois Lane is taken in a museum exhibit featuring a giant monster that was frozen by an Arctic expedition but preserved in ice. When the cooling system that keeps the monster frozen fails, the ice melts and the monster awakens. When Clark Kent discovers the monster rampaging through the city, he transforms into Superman to save Lois and stop the monster. The Arrow. After destroying a police station with a flying bullet car, the saboteurs demand that the municipality hand over public funds to avoid further vandalism. When the city refuses to succumb to their demands, Superman is forced to intervene as the Eminent Ones resume their attack and take Lois Lane hostage. Magnetic Telescope. When the professor's experiments with the magnetic telescope endanger the city by releasing a fiery comet from space, the mayor orders the experiment halted. Believing in the importance of his research and confident that he has better control over his device, he ignores the order and continues with his plan to attract a larger comet for further study. When the city police shut down the telescope, an approaching comet spins out of control, forcing Superman to intervene to save the city from imminent destruction. Electrical Earthquake. A Native American scientist, who believes Manhattan rightfully belongs to the Manhattanites, insists that the Daily Planet publish the truth of the story and cleanse the island. When Perry White opposes his request and calls it ridiculous, the scientist angrily walks off. Lois Lane chases after him, but is discovered and captured in his underwater laboratory. The scientist then uses his equipment to create an earthquake at Manhattan Island using electricity, forcing Superman to search for the source of the destruction and save Lois. Volcano! Lois Lane and Clark Kent arrive at Monocar to announce that efforts are underway to redirect lava flows away from the town at the base of a previously dormant volcano that is expected to erupt soon. When the volcano erupts, falling debris damages an explosive device, putting the workers and Lois Lane in danger, forcing Superman to head off to rescue them. Terror in the middle of the road. Lois Lane and Clark Kent are at the circus to cover the events that occur when one of the popular attractions, a giant gorilla, is accidentally released. The gorilla goes berserk and chases Lois, freeing the other circus animals. As things get out of control and lives are in danger, Clark is forced to take on the role of Superman. I'll be fired! Clark Kent and Lois Lane are covering an incident involving the test flight of the world's largest bomber when Lois gets the opportunity to hide inside the plane to witness the flight. Shortly after the flight, a Japanese spy is also arrested, planning to hijack the plane and take it back to Tokyo. Lois Lane secretly alerts the base, but when a military attempt to intercept the plane is thwarted, Superman intervenes. The Showdown. A thief dresses up as Superman to commit a series of crimes. Following the orders of a crime lord, the police are tricked into searching for Superman, but Lois Lane believes Superman to be innocent. While covering Clark Kent's opera, Lois encounters a conman who tears off the S logo from his clothes, leading her to believe that Superman has really gone mad. Realizing what has happened, Clark tracks down the man who impersonated Superman to bring him and his boss to justice. The 11th Hour. While in Japan under Japanese guard with Lois Lane, Clark sneaks out at night as Superman to sabotage a Japanese fleet. Enraged by the damage, the military takes Lois hostage and publicly declares their intention to execute her if she commits any further acts of sabotage. After sinking another warship, Superman discovers a message and must act quickly before the Japanese carry out their threat. Limited Liability Company Destruction. The body of a night watchman at a Metropolis munitions factory is found in a swamp, and a group of saboteurs claim responsibility. Lois goes to the factory in search of a story and gets a job as a factory worker. During the infiltration, Lois is captured by a saboteur who had been spying on them, and is forced to use a torpedo to eject her before continuing with their plan to destroy the factory. Mummy Attacks. A scientist's body is discovered in an Egyptian museum, and his assistant is accused and convicted of poisoning him. When the scientist's colleague discovers evidence that could prove the assistant's innocence, he contacts Clark Kent to show him a tablet indicating that the scientist may be a victim of the curse of King Tasha's tomb. While exploring the tomb, the men discover that it is full of poisonous needles, but unwittingly release one of the king's giant guards who were buried with him in the crypt. Jungle Drums. Deep in Africa, a German captain poses as a native religious leader to cover an anti-aircraft mission disguised as their temple. After shooting down a plane carrying Lois Lane, the Germans take her prisoner and recapture her. It is said that she gave him classified documents that the plane's pilot supposedly had about him. Later, Clark Kent is spotted aboard another plane on the same route as the convoy, and he swoops in to find the wreckage, saving it, her, underworld. The explorer convinces Perry White to ask the Daily Planet to fund an expedition to the first cavern discovered by his father, who disappeared while continuing his research over 40 years ago. As part of the deal, he gets Lois Lane and Clark Kent on board in order to get exclusive rights to the story. As the group progresses deeper into the cavern, they encounter an underworld inhabited by people with falcon-shaped heads and wings. Secret Agent. He notices a woman being chased and shot at by German saboteurs. Clark Kent jumps into the back of their car to stop them. While in pursuit of the police, the saboteurs abandon the pursuit and take Clark hostage to return to their hideout. The woman is a double agent who has control over the saboteurs' plans and convinces the police to accompany them to the airport to take them to Washington. On the way to the airport, she and her companions are ambushed by the saboteurs. Once Clark, who has taken the possum hostage, understands enough about the unfolding events, he ends up intervening as Superman. It's all the same thing. Thank you for the registration question?